Hi, my name is Christopher Boozer, and this is my testimony. Um, I'm trying to think of where to begin, but I can say that on a short version that I've been abused, I've been through foster care, I've been a drug addict, I've been an alcoholic, I've been in and out of jails, I've been in and out of halfway houses, I've been in and out of programs for almost a good 37 years of my life. And it wasn't until lately, in the last 4 to 5 years, that the Lord really came into my life and helped me to see that the choices that I was making and the things that were going on in my life were not good. Um, I remember the last time I went to jail for the last time for a situation where it was a domestic situation between a man and a woman, and I remember going into that jail cell and hitting that place and looking around and saying to the Lord, it seems like every time I walk away from you, Lord, that it seems like I end up in places like this. And it was at that moment that I realized that I needed to do something about my life. It took me a little while. I was in prison. I was not in prison, but I was in county jail, and I sat there and I was around some of the guys who go. And the funny thing about going to jail is when people go to jail, we always rationalize what we do, and it was somebody else's fault. It's never our fault. And I sat around that for a little while, but I kept going to court, and it seemed like nothing was happening. And it was in that time that I started to look at some things, and I prayed to the Lord while I was there, and the Lord started to speak to my heart. And I started to get a clearance on things. Like sometimes we do things to people, but we don't realize sometimes the hurt that we cause people in the phase of our addiction on the things that we're doing. And that's when I realized that I was guilty for the things that I have done. Not because I got into a physical altercation with a guy and then I hit his girl, but because I went out and made a choice to go get high and go out and do the things that I was doing that led me to the position that I was in. And it was at that moment that I asked the Lord to change my life. And I made a declaration that I would never put my hands on anybody, that I would never hurt anybody again. And when I went to court that day, I went to my, I think it was my public defender at that time, who wanted to take it to trial because she felt I could beat it. But I had told her that, I would rather just plead guilty, and she didn't want me to do that. But I did that, and before you know it, things got to moving. Instead of going back and forth to court, we settled right there, and then my life began to change. And I wish I could say when I came out of jail that that's what happened, but I knew I wanted to change. And when I came out, I still went through the struggle of addiction. And I ended up taking myself into a recovery program called Calvary House up in Fort Lauderdale. And it was in that time that I really started to see some of the things that were going on in my life. I had a bad temper. I was always angry. I couldn't let go of my past, and I felt unworthy, and I had no self-esteem about myself. But through that, God started to change my life. And when He changed my life, I started to see the things that God was trying to show me all along that I just couldn't understand. There was a director that was at the Lord's Place. Mind you, I've been at the Lord's Place before. I burned so many bridges because of my addiction and my attitude that I was told I would never come back to the Lord's Place. But the director came into the place and he saw me there, and not knowing what's going on, he asked me this question, what's going on with you? And I didn't know what to say. All I said was, I'm just tired of being a thief and a robber and a liar, and I'm just tired of living my life this way, man, and I don't know what to do. And he told me, if you never told me those things, I would have walked out of this room. He said, but because you told me that, he said, because you were those things. And he said that, the reason why I'm here, he said, you've been on my heart for a month. He said, the Lord has had you on my heart for a month. He said, this is a Lord thing, or a God thing right now. And he said, the reason why I'm here is because God told me to come here, and he said, I didn't want to let you in, and you burnt so many bridges, and nobody really wants you at the Lord's place. He said, but I'm going to stick my neck out for you, and I'm going to go. He said, what's going to be the difference? And I said, I don't know. All I could be was honest. And I said that, all I can say is I just need a chance, and he came and got me. And from there, my life just took off. And God has kept His promise. He kept His promise the same way He's kept His promise with with King Hezekiah. He's taking care of me. My first 2 years were rough, but God has taken care of me. And